All right, students, we're going to go over your practice test here. Your test will look like this with just different numbers. Um, since it is next Wednesday afternoon, you will not have to, in a shortened period, a little bit, like an hour or something like that. You will not have time to review before the test. So I'll just give you the test once class starts, so you'll have a full hour to do this. Okay, you should do this at least twice, if not 3 times. If you're a struggling student, work these out 3 times over the weekend between now and next Wednesday. Watch the video here at least once until you can go and have every step memorized on how to solve these. Again, most of this is review from middle school you've done, okay? So this is now the second or third time you've seen it. Okay, all right, number one. This would be the only new piece for the most part. Okay, state the solution to y plus 6 does not equal. That means does not equal. -6. Well, obviously, all I gotta do is subtract 6 across. So y doesn't equal -12. So A says write it verbally. Y doesn't equal -12. B is set notation. This might be new to you, set notation. You draw these squiggly lines here like this. Draw your left one. You write down the variable you're dealing with. Oh, I should have said y, not x. Y such that y is all real. That's the all real symbol, comma, except -12. And then put the other bracket. Okay, so that's called set notation. Now C says to graph it. Well, if y doesn't equal -12, it equals everything else. So notice I have a -12 there with an open circle because it's not included, and I have to shade on both sides because it's every other number besides -12. All right, here we go. Number 2. Remember, our first step is always look to either have distributive property or combine like terms. So here we have combine like terms, as it says here. 1x minus 5x is -4x plus 7 equals x minus 8. Okay, so now I ask myself, what side should I bring the variables to? We always take the smaller number, -4, to the bigger number side, 1. So therefore, I'm moving the -4x term across. Remember, whenever you move an entire term across, you're either adding or subtracting. So I'm adding the 4x across. Well, since the variables are going to the left, the constant goes to the right, which is another term. So again, that's why it's add or subtract. We're adding the opposite of -8 is +8 on both sides. Okay, so then these cancel out here, these cancel out here, and I get 5x equals 15. Last step, divide by 5, and I get 3. Okay, I can always check all these answers by plugging it back in afterwards. The vast majority of you are not doing that on your assignment. I should be able to check that by easily plugging that back in. So if I go ahead and look at this, I say it's 3. 3 minus 8 is -5. Okay, I have the -4x, so -4 times 3 is -12 plus 7. Just plug it in there, -12 plus 7, -5. I could have plugged it into the top one and got that as well. So that guarantees that I have it right. I know you had to do this in middle school, check your work. We don't require you to do that here. We just expect you to want to do that so you can check it to guarantee you have it right. If you don't want to because you're so confident or you're too lazy, then you pay the consequences one way or the other. But you can know on almost all these problems before you turn in your test how well you did, because if you plugged it back in, assuming you have time because you're not slow in doing your calculations, okay, remembering your steps, that might take your whole period if you don't practice this over the weekend, so you don't have time to check. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go through and do the test, get it completed first. Then, if you have extra time, go back and plug in your answers on any ones that you might not be sure of first off. So, like, say you're confident on several of them, but maybe on number 6 you weren't. Then you just put like a question mark or something like that, or a dot, whatever you want. Dang it. Let's go back. Just scroll down here. Okay, or if you're going to put a dot, so you know after you've completed the whole test, you go back and you look for your dots and you say, okay, I want to check that answer, see if it makes sense. All right, number 3, distributive property. Okay, we get negative 9x minus 18, and then you have minus 4 equals negative 11 minus 6x. Combine like terms right here. There's only these terms to combine on the left side and nothing on the right. Negative 9x minus 22 equals negative 11 minus 6x. Again, I ask myself, variables, which one is smaller, negative 9 or negative 6? Negative 9 is, it's to the left of negative 6 on the number line. Anything to the left is smaller. So I'm going to add the 9x across. Okay, so I'm adding 9x across. I just didn't write that here. Okay, so then I get 3x, and then I'm moving the constant across. I'm adding 11. The opposite of negative 11 is plus 11. And negative 22 plus 11 is negative 11. Last step, divide by 3. And I get negative 11 thirds right there. Okay, number 4. First step, we're doing reverse PEMDAS here. Add or subtract. Add the 8 across. Okay, now I got 2x minus 6 over 2 equals 12. Remember, that's a fraction, so I'm going to write the right side as a fraction. And then I can just cross multiply, set equal each other. So I have 2x minus 6 times 1, okay, is 2x minus 6. And then 2 times 12 is 24. Reverse PEMDAS, add the 6 across, and I get 2x equals 30. And last step, divide by 2, and I get 15. Now, they're not going to always come out to nice numbers like that. 15, you can get a fraction, okay? So you will be able to use calculator, okay? So you can change it right as a proper decimal or hit math, enter, enter to have it converted to a fraction for you. So you have exact answers. You cannot approximate, you cannot round on any of these answers. It does not say to round anywhere. Number 5, reverse PEMDAS, add the 7 across. The reason first off, I look at my coefficient for the x. Remember, that's 1/2, 1 over 2. Remember, that can be written as 1/2 x. So the coefficient is 1/2. It's positive, so it's going to stay on that side. Remember, if that was a negative coefficient, I'd move the variable to the other side to make it positive. But it's positive already, so I'm going to leave it there. Add the 7 across, so I have x over 2 is greater than, I'd put an equal sign, but greater than 4. Okay, this is a fraction. You can write it as a fraction, 4 over 1, cross multiply. I have x is greater than 8. Okay, if you don't want to cross multiply, you can think of the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. So I'm multiplying both sides by 2. And then those cancel out, and I get x is greater than 8. So either way. Number 6, distributive property. Okay, negative 64 minus 8p. And combine these like terms. 24 minus 6 is 18. Again, I look at the coefficient of the variable. It's negative, so I'm going to move it to the other side, which means the constant is going to the right. So I have positive 8p is greater than or equal to negative 64 minus 18, which gives me negative 82 right here. And then, of course, last step, divide by 8. We always want to be divided by a positive, so we don't have to switch the inequality sign. Several of you chose not to follow my guidance and try to do it your own way, which would have worked if you did all the proper steps, but you didn't. So when you had a negative 8p, you went ahead and just divided signs by 8 only, which is then wrong. Or when you divided by negative 8, you forgot to switch the inequality sign. You have to remember all those extra steps if you choose to do it that way. The smarter way, as I've only teach you in class, is to make the coefficient of the variable positive always. Move it to the side to make it positive. That way you're always dividing by a positive. You don't have to switch any of the signs or inequality symbol either. Now, I cannot just leave it as negative 82 over 8. I must simplify that. Each divides by 2 down to 41 fourths. So I can say p is greater than 41 fourths, or if you want to change 41 fourths to a mixed number, that'd be 10 and 1/4. And so you could also say p is greater than or equal to 10 and 1/4. And then I go ahead and graph it. Okay. Remember, greater than or equal to means solid. It includes it. Remember, the solid filled in circle means includes it. And then greater than is to the right. I must have the drawn shaded in segment or array there with the arrow at the end. I don't just go and just circle this at the end. Illegal. You have to do the shading like this and put an arrow just like that, just like you see here. Okay, oh, right here, I forgot to do the shading there. I mean, the graphing there. X is greater than 8, so there's no equal sign, so it's an open circle at 8, and again, greater than is to the right. Number 7. Okay, we go ahead and combine like terms first. X plus 2x is 3x, so I have 3x plus 8 is less than 5. I look at my coefficient on the x, it's positive, so I leave it on this side. So that means the variables are to the right, the constants going to the left. So anytime I move an entire term across, remember I'm only adding or subtracting, so I'm opposite of plus 8 is minus 8. Minus 5 minus 8 is minus 13 is greater than 3x, or you can say 3x is less than negative 13. And last set divided by 3 on both sides. So I get x is less than negative 13 thirds. So I could write it on the other side and say x is less than negative 13 thirds. Remember, the arrow always points to the smaller number. Now I go ahead and graph it. Negative 13 thirds, and it doesn't have an equal sign, so open circle, and less than is to the left. So you get 3 points. Each problem is worth 4 points. You get 3 points for solving it correctly, and then 1 point for graphing it correctly. Okay, so you have to be able to do both to get full credit for these inequalities. All right, number 8, again, a distributive property. Okay, then I go ahead and look right here. That's a negative on the coefficient for the x. So I'm moving it to the other side. It's the opposite of negative 3x is plus 3x over here. Because I'm moving the constant to the other side. I'm subtracting the 21 across. I stand right there, minus 21. Okay, so now I have negative 33 is greater than 3x, or if I write it from the variable side, 3x is less than negative 33. Last step, divide by 3, because again, since we're divided by a positive, we don't switch the signs at all. That's why I move it over to that side. And then I get x is less than negative 11. Okay, so x less than always points to less than 1, negative 11. So at negative 11, I ran out of space here, so I just put the negative 11 up top. That's fine. I don't care if you put it up top or down below. That doesn't matter. And it's open circle because there's no equal sign, and less than is shaded to the left. All right. Number 9, we have a proportion. Remember, a ratio that equals a ratio is called a proportion. How do you solve all proportions? Cross multiply, set equal each other. Notice I put parentheses here because there's more than one term in either the numerator or denominator. You put parentheses around it so you make sure when you cross multiply that you distribute through it. So I have 7 times the quantity n plus 4 equals 4 times the quantity n plus 8. Now distributive property, you get that equals this. Okay, then again, I ask myself, what side should I bring the variable to? Always smaller to larger side, so I end up with a positive. So I'm subtracting the 4n across, and therefore the constant's going to the right, so I'm subtracting 28 across. Okay, so I end up with 3n equals 4, and last step, divide by 3, and you get 4 thirds. Okay, number 10, reverse PEMDAS again. Okay, always reverse PEMDAS after you do any distributive property or combine like terms. So add or subtract across, subtract the 4 across, I get 2 equals 9 over n plus 6. That's a fraction on the left, so I'm going to make it a fraction on the right. Then I just put the parentheses around it because there's more than around the n plus 6 because there's more than one term in that spot in the denominator there. So cross multiply, I get 2 times the quantity n plus 6 equals 9. Now I go ahead and distribute. 2n plus 12 equals 9. Subtract the 12 across, reverse PEMDAS. 9 minus 12 is negative 3. And last step, divide by 2 on both sides, you get negative 3 halves right here. Or you can say negative 1.5. You put it as a decimal. Number 11, we're solving for the indicated variable for 11 through 13 here. It says solve for m. Okay, so I need to get m by itself. So I need to add or subtract across, move an entire term across, subtract that ax across. The reason I'm doing that coefficient is positive, so I'm going to leave it there, the 2. So I'm subtracting the AX across the entire term. Anytime you subtract an entire term across, you're adding or subtracting. Notice I do not line it up under the D because they are not like terms. So I have 2m equals d minus ax. Remember, when you have a positive and negative, you put the positive one first. And last step, divide by 2. And I'm done right there. And you just fill it in over here where it says m equals. Number 12. Okay, we got a fraction on the right side, so I'm going to write it as a fraction on the left, a over 1. Cross multiply, get 2 capital A. You cannot change it to a lowercase a. You have to keep the letters just as they are. Equals h times the quantity b sub 1 plus b sub 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and distribute that h through there. I get h times b sub 1 plus h times b sub 2. Remember, we're solving for b sub 2 over here. So we're solving for that one. So I need to move this entire term across. So that's a subtraction, because the opposite of addition is subtraction. So you have 2a minus ph times b sub 1. And last step, I need to get rid of that h right there, because I want to solve for b sub 2. So I have to divide right here, as it says right here, divide by the h on both sides. And there's my answer. Number 13, we're solving for y. Again, so I look at the coefficient, it's negative. So I'm moving the coefficient, the y term to the right to make it a positive, which means the constant is going to the left. So I get 2x minus 5 equals 3y. And then the last step is to divide by 3 on both sides. And there's your answer. And you put it down here in your box. All right, 14, solve the equation. I subtract b across, they're the same, so it doesn't matter what side I bring it to. I brought it to the left, which means the constant's going to the right. I get 0b equals negative 14. Can 0 times any number ever equal negative 14? No, so the answer is no solution. 13, you're finding the errors in this here. And if I look right here, they want to move the 3k across. I wouldn't have done that at all. I would have added the 2k across, because that's the smaller over the bigger side and have a positive, but they wanted to move the 3k across, so they should have subtracted. Okay, they should have subtracted 3k from both sides, not added 3k to both sides. So that's their error you're pointing out, and now you go ahead and finish off the problem correctly. So I'd have 19, and then minus 2k minus 3k is the minus 5k right there, equals negative 1. Okay. Now, I would have gone ahead and moved the negative 5k across, but since it's already moved to the left side, I just left it there, because you can still do it this way as long as you do the right steps. So I'm moving the constant across, subtract 19 across. I have to make sure I drop down that negative with that 5k. So I have negative 5k equals negative 20, and last step, divide by negative 5. Don't forget the negative sign with it. So you end up with a positive k equals positive 4. Okay, so that's the corrected one. Number 16, find the error. Well, if I look from step 1 to step 2, this 1/5 x became 1x. That means they multiplied by 5 to get 1. Well, if you're multiplying by 5, you multiply it through the entire equation. They did not do that. They only did it for the variables only. Did they do that? That's their error. So they forgot to distribute the 5 through the 6 here and the 5 through that 5 right there. Okay, you gotta go through every term. So if you did that correctly, you'd get this. X plus 30 equals 3x plus 25. Take the smaller variable to the bigger side, so subtract the x across, and you get 2x. Subtract the 25 across, and you get 5. 2x equals 5. Last step, divide by 2 on both sides. X equals 5 halves, or 2.5. Okay, backside now. We have distributive property here. Okay, so I get 2x plus 12 equals 2x plus 6. Subtract the 2x's across. Subtract the 6 across. Okay, and you get 0x equals 6. Can 0 times any number ever equal 6? No, so the answer is no solution. Number 18, reverse PEMDAS. Subtract the 4 across. I get 4x equals 0. 4 times what number gives me 0? Only 0, so the answer is 0. 19, distributive property, and then combine like terms, 2m plus 6 minus 6m. Now I can combine those like terms. 2m minus 6m is minus 4m and a positive 6. And remember, you usually put, when you have one positive, one negative, you put the positive one first. So 6 minus 4m equals 6 minus 4m. Okay. Whenever you get the exact same thing on both sides, that means every number works. If I was to finish it off, okay, I would add that 4 across there, subtract that 6 across there, and I get 0m equals 0. 0 times what number equals 0? Every number times 0 is 0. So it's all real. You can write it like this, or write out the words all real. Number 20. First thing I did was to simplify the 3/9 and to combine those like terms right there. So I get 1/3 x minus 5 equals the 6x minus 5. I want to get rid of the fractions, so I multiply the entire equation by 3. That's the common denominator. So I multiply by 3, I get x minus 15 equals 18x minus 15. Okay, I'm moving the smaller one over to the bigger side for the variables, so that means the constant's going the other way. So I'm adding that 15 across. And I get 17x equals 0. 17 times what is 0? Only 0. Or I can think of dividing like that and get x equals 0. Same thing. 21. Solve and graph and then number line. So again, I could go ahead and simplify this. Negative 1/3 x minus 3 less than or equal to negative 7. I see right here my coefficient is negative, so I'm going to move it across. That's why I see positive 1/3 x over there, which means my constant is going to the left. So I'm adding the 7 across. That's why I see the plus 7 right there. 7 minus 3 is 4 right here. And I have equals 1/3 x. And we got to solve for 1x, so I multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. So I'm multiplying both sides by 3. And 4 times 3 is 12. So notice you'd have x is greater than or equal to 12. Okay, well now I have the x on the other side, so I have to switch the inequality. So I still read it the same way. X is greater than or equal to 12. This is x is greater than or equal to 12. And then I go ahead and graph it. Remember, that means closed circle shaded to the right because it's got the equal sign there. Greater than is to the right. Okay, translate these words into an equation and solve it. 3 more than 3 times the number. So 3 more than is the plus 3, then 3 times the number 3x. Is means equal in math. There's my equal sign, 56. Subtract the 3 across, I get 53. Last step, divide by 3, 53/3. 23. You bought a magazine for $4 and 2 bags of Halloween candy for an unknown amount. So that's 4 plus 2, because I got 2 bags. Okay, unknown amount. The unknown amount is x. So 4 plus the 2x equals, you spent a total of $19. So equals 19. Subtract the 4 across, I get 2x equals 15. And last step, divide by 2. 15 divided by 2 is $7.50. You round to the nearest cent. Okay, this would happen to come out nicely to 50 cents. It may not. Maybe 30.3 repeating bar. So like say it came out on your calculator, 73333. I'm rounding to the nearest cents. That's $7.33. The cent spot is your hundredth spot. Okay, so right here, I look at this number. It's less than 5, so I stay. 24. Okay, it says find the length of each side. I haven't finished this problem yet. I just solved for x. Then I have to find the length of each side. Okay, so remember the hash marks means those sides are congruent. So that's 1x. That means this is 1x. This is 5x minus 2. That makes this 5x minus 2. We had it with triangles on your worksheet. Okay, same idea. So the perimeter you need to know from elementary school onward is adding up all the sides. So I add them all up. I get 10x, 12x minus 4 equals 46. And over here it tells me the perimeter is 46. So I add the 4 across. I get 12x equals 50. Divide by 12 on both sides. I get x equals 4 and 2/12. So it simplifies to 4 1/6. So that's what x is. That's the width. So I'd say width equals 4 1/6 feet. You got to remember the units. Your calculator would give you 4.16 repeating bar, so you could have written this as 4.16. Oh, no, I said round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so Therefore, I cannot leave it as exact answer right there. That would be wrong. 4.16 repeating bar, remember that means 4.166, etc., on forever. So the nearest 10th, here's the nearest 10th spot. So I look right there, that's going to make it round up. So the answer is going to be 4.2 feet for the width. Okay, then I go ahead and plug that 4.16 repeating bar, or I can just say 25/6. That reduces to 25/6, dividing each by 2. So type that back in your calculator, 25 divided by 6, and that's going to give you the 4.16 repeating bar. And then plug it into there. So that means times 5. Take that answer and times it by 5, and then subtract 2. And that would be my length. So I'm doing 5 times 25/6 minus 2, and then I'm going to round that answer to the nearest 10th. So let's bring up a calculator here. 25 divided by 6 equals this, times 5, and then equals that, and then subtract 2 afterwards. 18.83 p. Remember going to the nearest 10th, which is right here. So I look at the 100th spot, that's less than 5, so it's going to stay at 8. 18.8 is my answer, 18.8 feet. Notice I don't say equals, it's approximate. Whenever you're rounding, we change it from an equal sign, which is an exact answer, to an approximate sign, because now we've rounded, so it's not an exact answer any longer, so we don't put an equal sign, we put an approximate sign. So there's my final answer right there, those two. Oops, I should have put an equal sign there, should have been approximate. Okay, this was equal to up there. Okay, but now we have an approximate of 4.2 feet. Okay, and lastly, the bonus. Let me go ahead and erase this here so you can see the bonus. We have a quadratic, so we get our x squared together. 1 is less than 2, so I subtract that across, which means the constant is going to the other side, so I'm adding the 48 across. So 1 plus 48 is 49, equals 2x squared minus 1x squared is 1x squared. Notice this is x squared. The squared tells you how many answers there are, so I need 2 answers. How do I go? Remember, x squared, let's say I have x squared equals 4. What does that mean? It says, what 2 numbers can I multiply by itself to give me 4? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, and negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. So the answer is, so that means I'm taking the square root of both sides. So I get x equals plus or minus 2. Both 2 and negative 2 work. Okay, so on our problem here, when I subtract and add the 48 across, I get x squared equals 49. So now I'm taking the square root of both sides, and it's plus or minus. The square root of 49 is 7, plus or minus 7. 7 times 7 is 49, and negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. All right, that covers your whole practice test. Like I said, work it out multiple times, or at least the problems that you missed, rework those. If you have to rework the whole test, multiple times, so you know how to do each step. Okay, almost all of this is review from middle school. All right, that'll end at 29 minutes.